to Chalk Talk. This is Season 3, Episode 1. It doesn't seem like it's been 3 seasons, but it has been, and we're very happy to be joined today by John Hancock, our Executive Director for Guthrie Public Schools Personnel and Secondary Education, and Dusty Throckmorton, our new high school principal at Guthrie High School. And I'm Mike Simpson, Superintendent of Guthrie Public Schools. Welcome to the show, guys. Great to have you here.
Thanks.
Nice to be here.
I wanted to, for the listeners, I wanted you guys to kind of introduce yourself and tell who you are. Tell a little bit about your career. And it's not this isn't a job interview. We've already hired you for these jobs. So, but share a little bit about who you are and what you do for the district. So, whoever wants to start.
I'll start us off.
Okay.
You know, I'm John Hancock. This is my 23rd year in education. The last 11 years have been as either an assistant principal or a head principal. You know, I'm looking forward to the transitions, I guess, and learning different things that I'll be honest, as I grow, just reaching out to others and, kind of sharing my knowledge with new administrators such as Mr. Throckmorton. So
great. Well, and you've led a building at a building level, but you've never been at a district level, and so that'll be new for you. But I know that the people that you've worked with spoke so highly of your leadership at Washington High School and then previously at Middale. So we're glad to have you on our team. Dusty, tell us a little bit about yourself and how long you've been in the district, and you've been here long enough to officially be a Blue Jay now, I think.
Yes, sir. I think so. I've been in the district 11 years. This is starting my 12th school year. For the past 11 years, I've been assistant principal, and really enjoyed that part of my job. Total, I've got 25 years in education. I spent the largest chunk of that coaching football, track and field, those kind of things. But in this administrative role, it's really given me an opportunity to grow, and I appreciate the chance to be able to lead Guthrie High School. It's a real blessing.
So you've been at the high school for 11 years, and now you move into the principal position from being an assistant. But the other thing that is new to you is the rest of the administration from the high school too. Talk a little bit about them.
Yes, sir. So. Not exactly new to the site, but Justin Stevens, Dean of Students. Currently, he's been a Blue Jay for, 12 or 13 years. He's been in the district a long time. Former wrestling coach, great guy, firm on discipline, and real level head, great guy to work with. And we also brought on Jean Ambrose. She's high school administrator, been the lead principal at John Marshall for the last 4 years, and as we work together, we're finding out that the things that each one of us do well complement each other so well. It's a real pleasure to work with all these fresh ideas and kind of get to retool how things are done at the high school.
That was the thing that this district had been so stable with the leadership for so many years, and then bang, we had a whole lot of changes, mostly due to retirements and people looking to maybe leave education and things like that, and or getting a promotion. In the case of Mr. Hancock, his predecessor in that position became the principal at Perkins Tryon Public Schools, and so the thing that I've noticed, it's energizing to have all of the fresh ideas and a new way of looking at things. Not that what we were doing before was wrong, but always looking at it through a fresh lens. And that's the thing that I appreciate both of you bringing to your positions in the district. It's been fun to get a fun start, I think.
Yeah, I've enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's been great.
So, we've got, what do you guys see as the opportunities where we can grow as a district and get better?
For me, and it's tough that I'm still learning and everything about Blue Jays, but I think it's just the communication aspect. I think communication is key, and I know that I talked to I'm sorry,
That's
Mr.
good.
Throckmorton. You know,
No, Throck's better.
I talk to Throck, you know, probably at least daily, almost, you know, a couple of times, you know, and just being able to communicate and grasp each other's knowledge, because, you know, in my position, I'm in a whole new position, you know, and we can even kind of bounce ideas off of each other that way. It's not just you know, there's not just one way to drive a car down a street, you know. It's, yeah, you got to keep it in between the lines, but let's just be honest. Is it 10 and 2 or is it 3 and 9? Mm-hmm. It's just how you guide that.
Well, and you've done the job that he's doing now, albeit at a different high school, but you've done that job, and you know, you bring new ways of potentially doing things and a different way to look at it, along with, you know, Dusty, with the assistant that you have from Miss Ambrose, because of the fact that she's done that job and has different different ways of looking at it as well. And so I think that's really a awesome team.
A gift. It's a gift. It really is. I'm blessed. You know, the things that I'd like to see, I'd like to be able to move the needle, you know, for academics here at our school. The things you allude to about Gene and having previous experience, Mr. Hancock having previous experience, the passion that I have for connecting with people, for building relationships, for listening to the people that are in our building. You know, there's not one of us smarter than the room, mm-hmm. and that's the way I want to lead in our building. And when we start putting those ideas together, and it doesn't matter what perspective you come from, you have a perspective, and you have a portion of that ownership in the way we grow our kids here in Guthrie and in our schools. So each one of us have a piece of that. Every staff member in our building, including the kids, they all have to buy into what we're doing. And I'm seeing that buy-in. I'm seeing that growth. I'm seeing a positive attitude. Not that it's been bad in the past. It's just, it's fresh. It's invigorating. Mm-hmm. It's energizing, just like you've alluded to. It's just an exciting time in our building.
Well, you know, and one of the things I've said a lot of times about education that I really enjoy is, what other profession do you get to start fresh every year? You know, you get a fresh start every year. It's not a mundane job where you know, there's always that excitement in the fall when you come back to school, and everybody has a clean slate, and everybody starts fresh, and we start with fresh ideas. It's just a fun time, and obviously we do things the way we do them in Guthrie, and so you know, that kind of leads into what I was going to ask you guys next. And John, you're still kind of a rookie with the Guthrie way, but I'm curious, what has struck you about being unique in this district versus the other places that you've been?
You know, I would have to say that would be the small town atmosphere of a big town. I don't know if that makes sense or not, you know, but I've been part of a small town school for the last 5 years, you know, and whenever I say that, we're talking 300 kids in the high school. Well, I think Dusty has probably 1,200, but yet it still has that same feeling of the small town. I think that's been the most interesting and intriguing part of it, is just how Guthrie has kept that small town feel, even though it's the size that it is.
Yeah, and it's just a little over 1,000 there. I don't want anyone to hit the panic button and think we've grown by 200 kids. Although I'd kind of like that, but yeah, and the thing that I've always said about Guthrie that's really, I think, sets us apart is that we're small enough to be a family and large enough to offer a whole lot of things for our kids.
Correct.
And our community, for that matter. Dusty, tell me what you think is, what do you think is unique about our community? You've been here you're going on 12 years now. We kind of came in together about the same time. You know, you're a Marlowe outlaw by birth, but you've been here long enough to be a Blue Jay by choice. So tell me what you think is unique about this community and the school district.
Probably the most unique for me is the support that I feel from the community towards everything Guthrie Public Schools. There's not an activity that you go to that you don't see those same business leaders that you find at all of your civic organizations, or you bump into them downtown, or you run into them at Walmart, and they want to talk about what's happening at the school and how can I help and how can I support you. Every church in town chips in to help out. They're great sponsors of the high school. Each one of our school sites has different churches that help support them and their staff, and so it's just the total family feel. It's very much along the lines of what Mr. Hancock's talking about, but I love the support, because if there's something that you need, there's somebody here that's willing to reach out a hand and walk with you in that process. Not always a handout, it's a help, and I appreciate that about our community the most.
That's great, and I would echo that. You know, when I watch our community partners get involved at the school sites, whether it be at the high school or at one of the elementary schools, or people that'll call my office and just want to know, tell me how we can help. And it's kind of, as we are growing, the face of that changes a little bit. The thing that comes to mind, you know, Ideal Homes is they've got over 300 homes platted to build on the south side of town, and their vice president called me and says and wants to know, how can we help support the school district, and so we sat down and talked, and then I sent the lady to the elementary school that the homes will feed into, and by the time they were done, Ideal Homes had agreed to buy smart TVs for all the classrooms at Central Elementary and new desks.
Wow.
And you know, that was last spring, and we were able to start the school year with that this year. That's a new partner that is coming in and really hitting the ground running on support of the school district as well. I thought that was, and I think what you alluded to, and it's not just in a time of need. They're out there wanting to help anytime, yes. And it's really. That's one of the things I appreciate you saying that, Dusty, because that sets our community apart tremendously, I think, from a lot of other communities. Okay, you've both been, what did you say, 24, 25 years in education.
Yes, sir.
I've got a few years on you, and it shows. But what do you guys see that has changed in education in your career? What do you see? And it doesn't have to be for good or for bad, but you know, what changes have you seen in education along your career?
You know, for me, my undergrad was really unique. You take a methods class in college, and they teach you how to use an overhead transparency with a vis-a-vis marker.
I get that.
One semester.
That ink all over my hand.
Sir.
I'm left-handed, and you get that ink just right there.
Drag through it. You got to pull that overhead and make sure everything's in focus. I take that one semester. The following semester, they make me retake the course, except this time it's with a PC for 9 weeks and a Apple device for 9 weeks to finish up that semester. And so I get this duality of what is technology that's going out and coming in. The steno machines that you used to make the copies off of, I was a part of that transition into what is this.
So you were in that group. Okay, because I was pre all that. I had,
So technology usage, it's been crazy. I took my first job, and I'm trained up in technology. I want to use these projectors. I want to get all my stuff built to a PowerPoint, and I'm gung-ho, and I walk into the library media center, and I asked the lady working behind the desk, I said, so do you have a projector? I think we might have one in the back. I got to take it out of the box, unwrap it, take the foam off, take it to my classroom. I said, does anybody ever use this? She goes, you know, I'd really forgotten we had it. She goes, why don't you just keep it in your room until we need it? I was in that district for 2 years. Nobody ever got the projector. I got to own this technology, and I'm thinking, man, that is probably the biggest change, because today we can offer as broad and as wide a spectrum of online support, whatever a kid needs. It's almost made to custom fit the needs of each student to help them meet their academic goals.
That's good. Yeah, and that's I try not to ever talk about this anymore, but it's still there. You know, COVID, not everything that happened with COVID was bad, because it forced our hand a lot on some of that stuff. I remember the days of learning how to thread a 16 millimeter projector to show a film. And then we got videotape, and now it's all streaming, and a kid can watch it from their own home and or on their device or whatever, and the teacher can deliver that through Google Classroom and all these other platforms, and your dean of students is one of the gurus of Google.
Yes, sir.
for our district. So, John, what about you? What's changed that sticks out to you?
I can sit here and say I feel sorry for these kids today because they can't say, "Oh, I forgot my book at home."
Oh man,
I mean that technology. I guess I would also have to say, and I haven't seen it so much here in Guthrie, so I don't want to speak about Guthrie, but for me, I think we're losing some parental involvement at times. Mm-hmm. I feel like just as the more we've worked, I guess, in technology and things like that they kind of use that as well, and so I think it's pulling away some of that in education on its own. They can see everything so readily. Infinite Campus, they can pull it up and they can see their kids' grades and so forth. And yes, I understand that there's benefits in it, but I also feel like there's not that true face-to-face interaction with the teacher to understand truly what's going on anymore. Yeah, I can see that my kid, they scored a 82 on their test, but we didn't have, we don't get that person-to-person interaction on, well, what's that? What are they doing that they're only doing this and so forth? So,
you mentioned that, and I think back to all of the messages and communications I get from parents, where they'll send a Facebook message to the Guthrie Public Schools Facebook page asking questions, and I'm sitting there going, just call the school. Just call the school.
Right.
But that's a mindset of a parent that's a generation younger than I am, and that's probably being generous to me. But that mindset of just typing out your question and expecting an answer almost immediately sometimes is really that's just a different mindset that sometimes we have to keep in mind. That's how parents are communicating now, but you're right. I think we lose the relationship if we don't work at it. And Dusty, you talked about relationships a moment ago, but working at those relationships, and it's true that there's different levels of that in our staff. Yep. Because the majority of our staff are younger than the three of us, and so getting used to that and how they think is a challenge that we've got to overcome as well as leaders, and so that's something that we've got to always be in mind of. But building those relationships requires. I'm not sure it doesn't require more work now than it used to, because it's too easy to go away from that.
Correct. No.
Yeah. Okay, so I want to put both of you on the spot a little bit here. I know I told you it's going to be softball questions, but okay, what are two goals that each of you have for this school year in your job?
And I'm going to use Mr. Throckmorton on this one. The first thing is to make sure that he's successful in the goals that we've already pushed towards each other. Like, we've had this conversation, and whenever one of my first trips over there, we went out to lunch, and we talked about this together, and it was kind of like he's already alluded to earlier, academics, and I think it's being able to work with him and to show some gain. It's tough for high school to see gain year in, year out, because you don't get to test the same kids. So, you know, that's the tough part of it. But the slow growth, whatever it may be, but to see growth and to see the understanding and to see the students take some pride in that. I think that's going to, that's one of my goals, is to help Mr. Throckmorton and our other administrators to reach the academic aspects that we know that Guthrie can have. My second goal is to gain knowledge for future endeavors. I'm a person that has pushed myself throughout. I was first generation graduate in college. I'm one of those people that didn't go right through. I went into the military before I got my degree. I came out and I did that. So I'm always I'm pushing myself to learn things. Whenever people say that I can't, I'm like, oh, thanks for that motivation, because I'm going to show you that I can. Yeah. So it's that continual growth for me on how can I improve, how can I continue to teach or help guide principals to attain success in their buildings. Good.
Okay. You've had a little bit of time to think about that. Now, you want to tell us 2 of your goals?
It feels like oftentimes every day sitting in this new role is a brand new adventure. I mean, it really feels like that. And to say I've got just lined out goals, you're asking me on the spot, and I'm like, man, what do I need to say here? That, just being realistic, I've got to learn how to increase my capacity and my endurance. Both of those things have helped. I've grown so much in the last 6 weeks because I just know that every minute matters. Mm-hmm. I can't waste a second, and I can't waste an opportunity to visit someone, and I can't waste a moment to share a piece of advice or to listen and to be that ear. I think a good leader needs to listen, and I don't want to miss those chances, moving so fast to get the job done that I don't slow down and talk to the kid, provide time for that staff member, listen to that parent, encourage them. So that capacity is really, I want to increase my ability to do those things, and then at the same time create the endurance to carry that for a duration. You hear about people all the time that burnout's a real thing, and man, you've done this job, and principal turnover is a handful of years or less, and they move on to something else. But I really believe for this time, this is the job that I need to do, and I need to do it well. So I got to establish both those things. Obviously moves the needle working for these kids. But I think, first of all, I've been handed a book to read here in the last couple of weeks. We're doing a book study at school, and the first chapter talks about leading yourself. And so I'm grabbing a hold of that. I'm going, look, Dusty, if you've got to be best for you, then what do I got to do? I've got to focus on the most important things. And in that building, that's the kids and the staff. Mm-hmm. Provide a safe learning environment for them and put those two things first for those kids. And those are my goals for the year.
I appreciate you sharing that. We're doing a book study. All the district leaders are doing a book study about leadership, and it's a book that I've read. I'm on my third time of reading it, and it's amazing how I get different things out of it each time that I read it. And there's a lot of books like that you read. If they're good, you read them and you get a different thing that next time. And I think that's that's something I'm really looking forward to as we go through this year, is all of us, myself included, growing together with that book and with the things that we're going to have to deal with throughout the school year, because dealing with those things are what makes you grow too. Yeah. Yep. And I learned a long time ago that, and both of you have heard me say this, that you have to be uncomfortable to grow. And so you have to find a place that is sometimes uncomfortable, because that's when you grow, and that's something that I think is a great opportunity for us in the district. I want to shift just a little bit before we get out of here on and talk about something else, because all three of us are former coaches. We've coached athletics, but talk a little bit about the importance of not just sports, but of extracurriculars in your eyes with our students.
You want me to take that first?
Go ahead.
You know, to me, I think it's the most important thing out there. I am a big fan of extracurricular activities, no matter what it is. Many times that's what ties students to school. It gives them a reason to go to school at times. You know, some of these kids, they could care less whether they go to school, and that's not just here at Guthrie, that's everywhere, you know. But if you can get them tied into ag, choir, whatever it may be, you know, sports, that gives them that drive, that gives them a push to want to be there. It builds up a team, you know, a team atmosphere, even if it's a sport as an individual as wrestling is, you know. As I coached, I always said it was my family, you know, and my wrestlers will tell you that it was a brotherhood. That was our words whenever I was coaching. It was our brotherhood, and it just builds up that family atmosphere, and you always want to do what's best for your family. So it just kind of ties that together. I think that's the importance of being a part of an extracurricular activity, no matter what it is.
I think the support that comes from it, very much family-like. Every one of the kids that are involved in all of these extracurriculars that we provide, and we're as competitive as any Class 5A school in the state of Oklahoma. I'd stack our kids against anybody, anywhere, anytime. And the support that they get from each other, seen that more evident in the last month of my career than I have any time. They lean on each other. They are there for each other. They hurt for each other. They get in the trenches and they fight for each other. You read the interviews of the last Friday night's Player of the Week, and they talk about how well they fight for each other and they've got each other's backs. Extracurriculars gives you that tight-knit support. Not only do you get the support of your peers, you get the support of those adults that are speaking into the lives of those kids, those coaches. And I value my time as a coach. There's not a more endearing term that I could hear from a kid walking the halls than for them to say, "Hey, Coach Throck." Man, and I never coached the kid, but if that ever falls out, they go, "I'm sorry, Mr. T. I'm sorry, Mr. T." Hey, man, that is the kindest word you can say to me is to call me coach, because, man, that's blood, sweat, and tears together. That's time, that's effort, that's energy. And our sponsors, the people that organize those, our advisors, our coaches, the ones that are speaking into those kids, it's an extra set of eyes. It's an extra set of hands. You know, we entrust our greatest treasure, the kids of this district, to those staff members. For them, the expectation is that they're treated well and they're looked out for and they're cared for. And you see kids' grades go up when they're involved in extracurriculars. You see their attendance go up when they're involved in extracurriculars. And all of those pieces play right back into the support that these kids need to navigate challenging times when they're facing adversity. And they find that when they're more involved in extracurriculars than they do any other place in our school.
You know, that's something that I knew what you guys were going to say, because I know where your heart is, and your heart's with kids, and I truly believe that there's not a better way to save an at-risk student than to have extracurricular activities, and that's. We can go back and think in our careers of countless times that made a difference in a student that was at risk for whatever reason, whether it's an unstable home or trauma or a lack of self-worth, or, you know, all of those things that extracurriculars can build them up. And it's right there for them. That's why, you know, I was so happy when we were able to add volleyball. and we've added esports and those kinds of things, because what does that do? That gives more kids an opportunity to participate and be involved in something that stretches outside the school day.
Yeah.
And that's something that I think is so important, because it provides that stability in their lives that may be missing if they're not with our staff.
Yeah.
You know. Last thing that I want to ask you guys, that it's we've kind of touched on this a little bit, but I want to ask you, what drives you to succeed? What drives you to succeed?
Man, that's a tough question right there.
I saved the best for last, didn't I?
Softball toss there, Dr. Simpson.
Yeah, I'm talking about hide tag to get some here.
You know, I think for me, it's something that I have in my system. You know, like I said earlier, it's tell me I can't do something and watch me prove you wrong. You know, I don't know. I guess you can say, you know, maybe it was me being the youngest of 6 kids and having 3 older brothers, and you know, I had to fight for everything, and I wanted to make sure that I got there. But it's just, to me, it's a built-in nature that I just wanted to be. I wanted to be good at whatever I did. You know, I mean, crud, I wasn't the biggest kid on a 6A. Well, at that time it was 5A. You remember football team at Midwest City. I was a 2-year starter there. Why? Because I felt like I needed to, and I worked my tail off for it. You know, I didn't start wrestling until I was in junior high, so I'm behind at least 3 years from a lot of the kids in Middale, because they had elementary athletics, and where I came from, I didn't. You know, it's just it was that drive, just because I wanted to be competitive in whatever I did, and that's led me into even in my career as an educator. Whenever I was teaching, they were like, first thing is I was told that I needed to get out of U.S. history because I was going to be gone because of my coaching. You know, and you're going to be gone every Friday up until end of February, 1st of March, and then we're going to be testing in the end of March, 1st of April, and your kids aren't going to be prepared. And I took that as a challenge and made sure that my scores, I was at an 89% pass rate, you know, and so it was just things like that. Tell me I can't, and watch me show you that, okay, you're wrong, and I'm going to prove it to you. So it's just that mental fortitude, I guess.
It's good.
Give me that question again.
What drives you to succeed?
What drives me to succeed? You know, there's a legacy that comes with responsibility. And I was raised in a way that you do the job you're called to do. You put things aside and you make it a priority. But there's a hope inside of me. I can't sit here and have a conversation and not say that there's a hope in me through Jesus Christ that has made this job mean so much more. These kids, if not me, then who? There's a gap. There is things that are going on around this world. And some of these kids, if I don't stop and say hi to them and smile at them and shake their hand and tell them they matter, then who? Who's going to? I don't know what's going on in their world outside. As much as I want to build relationships and know kids, if they don't see the hope that's in working hard, committing themselves to doing the right thing, making good decisions day by day, and growing and becoming something, if they don't see that hope, and I can't share that with them, then I've missed it. I miss that every single day. So for me, it is get up, live this life in front of these kids so that they see they can be whatever they choose to be. They can see a hope that's in me, that when things are going good or things are going bad, there's still a light that we can work towards. And so for me, my motivation has been be that for those kids. They need a leader that is willing to stand beside them when it's hard. They need to be a leader that's going to stand beside them and cheer for them whenever it's good, bad, ugly, no matter what the score is on the scoreboard, whether we're winning a championship, we just got ourselves beat down. they need those kind of people, and that's the motivation for me, is to provide that and be that leadership for my own family. Because I'm raising 3 girls. I've got one that's married off now, but I've got still 2 in the house, and I want them to see that, hey, this is what a healthy marriage looks like. This is how a man is supposed to treat his wife. This is how you're supposed to feel loved and nurtured. This is how a father and a daughter are supposed to have a relationship. They're supposed to love each other and care for each other. And so those things, my faith, my family, and this kind of work, that's what the motivation is for me.
I'd say that's a mic drop ending right there. Tell you what, I feel really fortunate that we're all on the same team together. Thank you much for joining us today. And we hope you enjoyed this episode of Chalk Talk. It's been fun bringing it to you. We're going to have another one next month, and we hope that you join us again. For John Hancock and Dusty Throckmorton, I'm Mike Simpson, Superintendent of Guthrie Public Schools. Thanks again for joining us.